Finished. Looks like I am too. Good job. The two of us connect up the lines of our patterns, mine being as close to a copy as I can manage of hers. With a grunt, I lever myself off the floor and look around. Aside from Hanako and myself, there's only Kenji left finishing off a sign, as well as Lily and a couple of students talking among themselves in the classroom. Looking at my watch, it's no surprise. It's getting pretty late. Need a hand? I offer a hand to Hanako, which she uses to get herself up. As she does, I can't help but glance at her wrist. If her scars extend even to there, just how much of her body was burned. I feel a pang of guilt about it, however, as she quickly covers her wrist with her other hand. Looks good, doesn't it? She looks surprised for a moment before noticing that I mean the banner. It does, I guess. A smile shows that she feels a slight sense of pride in the result, just as I do. With the floor significantly neater for the decorations being placed on desks and shelves, it's much easier to get to Lily as we cross the room. We finish the banner. I guess that's all that needs to be done. Lily gives an appreciative nod. Thank you, Hisao, Hanako. If there's any way I can thank you. It's fine, beats sitting in my room studying at any rate. I don't mind either. She nods before suddenly remembering one last person. Oh, is Kenji still here? Just as I open my mouth, Kenji gives the answer from the other side of the room. Yeah, just finished. He carefully slides his sign onto an empty section of shelf to dry, before quickly walking past us and out the door. See ya, man. Bye. The remaining two students say their goodbyes to Lily before taking their cue to leave as well, leaving only the three of us. Well, I guess that's everyone. I hope we don't have to do anything like that again. Working past school time? Indeed, the class's plans this year were ambitious. Maybe too ambitious. Still looks nice though. She's right, it shows that a lot of work's gone into them. My, I'm sure a lot of us would be glad to hear that. At least now there's not much work to do until the festival itself. Yeah, it's getting pretty late. Should we go? That's probably a good idea. Are you going back to the dorms as well, Hisao? Yeah, I guess. I'll tag along. The nighttime lighting really makes the gardens look quite different. Compared to the usual look of lush greenery, things are much more calm. Being that it's so late, the lack of students around probably helps. The odd one or two can be seen scurrying to and from the dorms, trying to eke the most out of their approaching curfews, but no more. All that can be heard is our footsteps, in addition to Lily's cane regularly gently tapping the ground in front of her. It's nice to finally be able to relax a bit after the mad rush during school. Without even noticing it, I let out a small yawn. Tired? Yeah, still getting used to the flow of things, I guess. The thing with Shizune took me kind of off guard, though. I grit my teeth a little at the candid mention of their rather public spat. That said, I do want to sort out what in the world was behind it. About that. I'm sorry about it being so public. Shizune and I go back some ways. Her voice seems slightly irritated as she remembers. Shizune, obviously unwilling to discuss it her voice seems slightly irritated as she remembers Shizune, obviously unwilling to discuss it any further. I glance to Hanako for her views on this, but her expression is, unsurprisingly, evasive and difficult to read. Either way, I guess her apologising for it is something, even if my curiosity goes unanswered. I'll be glad once the festival is over, in any case. The change of topic's welcome, clearing the thickening air quickly. I can imagine my old school's festivals were a lot more low-key than this. Yamako stresses the idea of school community, so the staff like to make us festivals and such special occasions. And yet the students are the ones who do the work. What an unfair world. Hanako and Lily both chuckle in agreement, saving the fact that none of the staff are around to hear our grumbling. I suppose coming from a strict all-girls school helped me a bit with Yamaku. Compared to there, Yamaku is much more relaxed. That'd go away towards explaining her well-bred speech and behaviour in any case. As we come up to the dormitories, eventually comes time to leave for our respective rooms. See you, Lily, Hanako. The two both give polite nods before standing off to the women's dorms, just next to the guys. As is to be expected of such an arrangement, there's a staff member casually patrolling around outside to prevent any nighttime shenanigans. Walking past him, I quickly stretch my arms and rub my neck, both quite sore after having worked on the floor for so long, before walking to my room. It feels good to actually have direction, though. After so long in the hospital, the everyday facts of studying, homework, and teachers seem almost a blessing. I guess if things continue like this, my time at Yamaku might turn out okay. I'm feeling tired, so I set my alarm clock to wake up as late as I can afford, while still making it to the first class. The nurse's voice is almost nagging in the back of my head about morning jogs. I make a resolution to make up for it by going for a walk after school tomorrow. Emmy won't care either way, I bet. I wake up and take a hot shower. Back in my room, the first thing I see is the familiar row of medication bottles lined up on the top of my dresser, and it makes me depressed, as usual. It's annoying. I thought I was okay. I thought I'd made my peace with this thing, gotten over it. But I really did. I allowed myself to forget that I have a problem. Being here really reminds me of the reality, and trying to fight against it just hurts. Reflecting on it is only going to do so much. I've done this before, for months. It seems like it's time to get over it. If I allow myself to forget that my life is definitely not going to be as long as those of others, I won't get anywhere. My life may be different from others, but it is a life in progress. That is how I'll rationalize it. I down the usual handful of pills, trying to push the sudden dreary feeling out of my head. Then I prepare to head out for class, early, as usual. As I step into the hallway, I notice Kenji coming around the hallway corner, stealthily making his way over to his own room with a large bag. As he sneaks past me soundlessly, like a ninja hiding in plain sight, I call out to him. "Hey!" He jumps at the sound of my voice. "Oh, hey man, I didn't notice you there. I'm really tired." I think it's more like he didn't see me, but that's not the issue. Where have you been this early? Shopping? No, I wasn't shopping. Sometimes I have to visit the maths teacher. Yeah, I figured it would be a good idea to find out when the next exam is, since he tells you in advance if you want. So then, what's in the bag? I thought I'd go shopping while I was outside. I need supplies to continue the fight against the vast feminist conspiracy. Okay. I thought you didn't go outside. I wear a hat now. I decide to not point out that he's not wearing a hat. An awkward silence settles between us, and then Kenji breaks it by pushing his door open slowly, releasing a creaking sound into the air that only makes the moment seem more awkward. He sets the bag down inside his room and then closes the door. I'm surprised you went out of your way to find out a test date. Trying to take advantage of an opportunity to study is pretty diligent. I never study. Oh. I just wanted to know when the next test day was. I'm still going to take it, I'd need to know so I know what day I can afford to skip class. He usually sends out updates on that by phone, so I had to step out and check up on it. And why do you have to go out when you can get it on your phone? I don't carry a phone. What do you mean you don't carry a phone? You mean you just leave it at home? Nah, I don't use phones. I don't have a phone. Phones. I have no phone. Why don't you have a phone? How can you not have a phone? No phone at all? No phone? I just don't like phones. Actually, I'm kind of scared of them. I don't know why. I think it's kind of repressed trauma. But basically, when I hear a phone, I get nervous. It's my darkest secret. I have two theories on it. Either I have some fear of receiving some undefined, ominous, life-altering doom call, or I was beaten with a phone in the past. Beaten so badly I can't remember it. Beaten in the head. Well, where else could I get beaten up with a phone that would make me unable to remember it? Unexpectedly logical, I feel very depressed now. Sensing this conversation is more or less over, Kenji opens his door again and prepares to head inside. Yeah, I'm going to sleep, dude. Have a good one. Class is going to start in like 20 minutes. I already did something today. Too tired to get to school. Hey, you need some lip balm? I accidentally bought two because I thought the store had started selling individual AA batteries. Thanks, but no thanks. Whatever, man. He swiftly enters his lair, finally letting me go to the class. For a change, I'm not among the first ones to come to morning class. Instead, almost everyone else seems to be here already. I recognise most of my class by their faces now, though most names escape me still. The class goes on lazily. I think I'm starting to get into the rhythm of the school. I have even stopped worrying about taking notes and being overtly attentive. The first days I was pretty high-strung in class. Mutao finishes his lecture about electricity early, but continues without a pause about the festival. So, as you know, the festival is on the day after tomorrow. I hope everyone's projects are going to be successful this year. Have a good time, but also come Sunday, please keep the meaning of this festival in your minds. Games and fried food! Everyone bursts out in laughter, and so do I. Yes, thank you, Mikado. But what I meant was more that the remainder of the sentence is buried beneath the ring of the lunch bells, and everyone starts packing their things. New Tao deliberates for a moment, but since almost nobody seems to pay attention anymore, he gives up and sits down. It's crowded in the hallway, or as crowded as hallways in the school probably get. Most of the students seem to be heading down for the cafeteria. Hisao! I'm gonna make you a one-time only super extra special lunch offer. Emmy's home-made lunchboxes and the privilege of enjoying them in private with two bombshell beauties. Her overtly flirtatious sales pitch echoes in the hallway, a remarkable feat since it's full of people. Emmy strikes a very confident-looking pose as though it's an attempt to one-up her own ridiculousness, puffing her very modest chest and making the V for victory sign with her hand. Sounds delicious. To what do I owe this honor of being invited? You stood there looking really lost and sad, so I thought you could use some company. That's probably the most depressing reasonable imaginable. So how about it? You're probably really lonely, would eat that awful cafeteria food all alone otherwise. No, I'm kidding. Sure, I'll have your lunch offer, with pleasure. Let's go to the roof. The roof? Why the roof? Because that's where we eat lunch. And if I don't get up there, then she'll probably wander off, and then I just know she'll go hungry because she never packs a lunch for herself. Who will? Rin! Come with me! Rin is now. Without answering my question or waiting for a response, she grabs me by the arm and drags me through the hallways. I attempt to make conversation on the way. Why do you have an extra lunch? Emmy smiles guiltily. Actually, it's yesterday's lunch. I slept in a run at lunch and forgot to eat it. Huh? The stairway to the roof is a little dilapidated, but it's clearly been used recently. At the top of the stairs is a door complete with missing padlock. I wonder who the intrepid individual it was that removed the lock. It's Rin, I think. She commented that she eats with someone. Emmy shoves the door open and steps beaming into the sunlight. Suddenly, a tall, dark stranger appears out of nowhere, standing imposingly in front of us. Emmy flinches back, almost falling back down the stairs. Hello. Eek! Yipes, you scared me, Rin. Wait, isn't she... Hello. Noticing that Rin is speaking to me, Emmy looks curiously at me. You two know each other? I look confusedly at Emmy. She's the friend of yours? Rin is turned to gaze towards the clouds drifting above the school. I didn't know you knew this person, Emmy. The awkward silence lasts only for a few seconds until Emmy lets out a tiny giggle, shrugging the coincidence off. I invited Hisao for lunch. If you know him, that's just better. Oh, does this mean I don't get food? Or did you invite him for lunch without the lunch? Neither. I have food for 3. Nice thinking. They walked to the other end of the roof while I stayed at the clock tower for a while, taking in the atmosphere. There's nobody else but us here. I guess the roof is not as popular as it is in other schools. A few rundown benches and tables are scattered around the edges, perhaps in an attempt to make the rooftop look less desolate. The small pebbles covering the roof rattle beneath our feet. I peek through the chain-link fence to take a look at the school grounds and beyond. Students are strolling in pairs and groups around the quadrangle and at the cafeteria. A few delivery trucks are driving past the school towards the convenience store nearby. Somewhere a watchdog barks at passers-by. Somehow when I look towards the town centre, the small town feel strikes me very strongly, almost palpably. The hectic lifestyle of big metropolises, seems so far away and foreign here. Nobody has to run to catch a bus like their life depended on it, or get their senses overloaded by the neon lights and traffic jams. I feel surprisingly optimistic about this new life of mine, looking at my new hometown, even if it's going to be mine for only one short year. Finding out about my illness and having to move away from home all came so suddenly, I haven't had time to think about how I feel about it. When I stepped out of the shadows of the clock tower to the open, I feel warmth touching my back. The sun shines from a perfectly clear cerulean sky. A cool breeze sweeping over the rooftop makes me shiver, but only briefly. The wind carries the scent of trees and flowers, not smog and car exhaust like it used to just a few weeks ago. Emmy settles on a bench with Rin in tow, and produces 1 big and 2 small lunch boxes from her bag. Come on, Hisao, what are you waiting for? She's beckoning me to join them, making room on the already small bench. I seat myself on the corner of the bench to take as little space as possible. It's pretty cramped, but somehow all 3 of us fit on it. Impressive view. Emmy suppresses a giggle and places a lunchbox in front of Rin and hands another lunchbox to me. Here you go, lunch as promised. Homemade no less. I'm impressed. Wow, this looks really good. Thanks, I make them myself when I can. Conversation dies off as I set about the business of feeding myself. Taking a few bites, I glance up and notice Rin deftly opening the lunchbox and popping a forkful of food into her mouth using only her feet. Even though I've seen it before, I can't help but be impressed at her dexterity. It's also a reminder of the sort of place I'm in right now. Will I ever get used to sights such as this? I can't decide if I'm getting used to such a thing would be a good idea or a bad thing entirely. Does getting used to this place mean that I'm giving up on being a normal person? Or does it just mean that I'm becoming more understanding about those around me? I'm distracted by my own thoughts by the sight of Emmy tearing into her lunch as if it had insulted her ancestors. You seem pretty hungry. Emmy looks up, mouth half full, and swallows before nodding. My morning run always works up an appetite. Which is great, because then I burn through lunch pretty quickly. Helps me keep my girlish figure. What would happen if you lose it? Would you become a man? I very nerdily choke on my lunch, trying not to laugh. It's a figure of speech. Does your figure have to run in the morning too? Do you always talk like this? Like what? Talk like what? Like what? I think that answers my question. Never mind. So, I struggle to think of small talk and settle on the obvious questions. How do you two meet? Rin seems content to let Emmy answer this question. Someone in the housing department thought that we'd complement each other, so we were assigned rooms next to one another. Complement each other. She's missing arms, she's missing legs. Complement each other? Like shoes and a suit. Huh? Emmy giggles at my confusion. Put us together and we got all our limbs, get it? Ah. So I started helping Ren get ready in the morning, and that was that. I mean, you can't help someone get dressed every morning and not get along. I see. That makes sense. Rin chooses this moment to interject. I have trouble with shirts. Right, that seems fairly obvious. Really? Kind of. This isn't helping, but at least Emmy seems to find the whole thing funny. That combined with the fact that Rin is genuinely curious makes me feel slightly better, and yet confused. I mean, you've got no arms, so putting on a shirt seems like one of those things that would be difficult. You know what? I'm just going to stop talking now. It'll save me a lot of trouble in the long run. Rin nods in what I expect is meant to be a sage manner. I see. The conversation dies as I turn my attention back to my lunch. It's really quite good. Emmy finishes her lunch first and makes a contented noise. Ah, that was good. As she busies herself with cleaning up her lunch, Rin speaks up. I'm thirsty. Oh, I almost forgot about that. Sorry. With a flourish, she reaches into a bag and removes a trio of juice boxes. She tosses me one that appears to be cranberry juice, one to Rin that appears to be some kind of strawberry milk, complete with pink colour scheme, and keeps an equally pink box of some kind of fruit punch for herself. Rin dexterously stabs her straw through the top of her box and begins to drink. I'm once again impressed by how flexible she is, but this time I keep my comment to myself. Somehow, I don't think Emmy or Rin are the kind of people to think twice about the way they work around their particular disabilities. Rin especially so. Indeed, she gives off the impression of being entirely unaware that she's missing any limbs at all. Whether or not that's a conscious decision is another matter. I'm honestly not sure. So Hisao, how do you like it up here? It's quite nice actually. Like high places for the view. Thanks for inviting me up here. And for the lunch too. Emmy grins a 1,000-watt grin. Pleased by my response, I suppose. No problem. Feel free to eat with us next time too, okay? I won't make you a lunch, but you can bring your own up here. No lunch service? Oh, I don't know. Emmy looks mock offended. Try to take advantage of my good nature? The nerve. She giggles. Well, if that's your answer, I guess Rin and I will just keep eating lunch all alone. I am suddenly assaulted by the most heart-rending puppy dog eyes I've ever seen as Emmy pouts. Kidding! I was kidding! I'd love to eat lunch up here again. Good location, and the company's okay, too. Emmy frowns a bit at my declaration of okay, but seems happy enough that I've accepted her invitation. I guess this makes us friends now. Or at least, acquaintances. The lunch bell rings, signaling a return downstairs. Rin, you didn't finish your lunch again. I wasn't that hungry. If you don't eat more, you're going to fade away. Rin shrugs as if this is an acceptable risk. Come on, we'd better get going. The three of us head down the stairs together. The afternoon class passes. Once again, I find myself without a plan for something to do after school, so I head to the library to return a couple of the books I finished reading.